I can see people from all over Great Britain. It's absolutely amazing. So welcome everybody. And let's get going with our introduction to the path to prosperity. So I want to start just explaining where this came about and how come we're doing this program over 4 weeks, starting next week in November. And it's quite apt, isn't it, if you think about it? I've had so many phone calls and messages today to say that they didn't think they could make it. But hey ho, Mr. Boris Johnson has made that very possible as of next week. And quite a few people can join us now because they seem to have their Monday nights free. So that's a big, big plus, I have to say. But the path to prosperity, I heard about it because the vice president of Synergy and Nature Sunshine Products sent me the booklet. It's a booklet of 8 chapters, and it was put together by a couple who are building a Nature Sunshine business in the US. And they developed this business system that made them very, very successful. So much so that the company then got involved and rolled it out. It's now part of their main training, and they actually call it their manager school. So everyone and anyone who wants to build a Nature Sunshine business in America will go through this program. So when I read the booklet, I was really impressed. I thought, wow, this is stuff I know, but stuff I'm not telling people about or teaching people. So the idea in the next 4 weeks, starting next week, is to do sort of a condensed course and then roll it out in the new year as an ongoing business training for people who want to either hop on a course that we're running or to run your own. I know there's quite a few people who've already said they'd like to run this themselves with their own teams in the new year. So that's absolutely fantastic. It comes with a workbook with 8 chapters. I know most of you should have the first chapter. Now, if you haven't, it's because I haven't got your email address or I didn't get it in time. So you'll see my email address later in the slide. Just make sure you drop me a line to say you'd like to be added to the list. You get each chapter each week so that you're not sort of thinking, where's this chapter that I'm supposed to be sent? So let me get started with sharing my screen, and so we can keep to time. So I mentioned that this program started in the States, and the whole idea behind it is creating a mindset to succeed, but also building skill sets that create long-term prosperity. And, I know that everybody on this call tonight, particularly if you've been in the business a few months or more, absolutely love our products. And in fact, for many of you, they've been life-changing. But I have to really, really put over in the next 4 weeks how I feel about the business side of it. I know there's some of you who feel the same, that this business can be life-changing as well. It certainly was for me. And I sort of now merged Nature Sunshine with Synergy, because I started with Nature Sunshine, our parent company, actually in 1996. When Chrissy, who's on the call, she's now 34, she was actually 10. And over the following years, I built myself a very, very solid, significant income, enough to buy my own house, mortgage free, enough to privately educate my children over those years. So this is a fantastic opportunity from a business point of view. So I hope we can instill as much passion in the business as you probably have already in the products. So welcome everyone, and you'll be getting the all 8 weeks, 8 chapters of this whole program. So we'll be sort of doing it in 2 chapters a week, chunks if you like. So yeah, mentioned that, it's 8 weeks. And so the purpose then is in-depth training on the fundamentals of building a successful Synergy company of your own. So we can all get excited, we can all sort of be motivated, but unless you have those skills, it's very, very difficult to grow a business that's it's all about duplication. It's not about someone being amazing and having people just, think how amazing that person is. It's about instilling in people that they can do the same and duplicating. And that's the way you build a successful business in our industry. In addition, we'll begin to do the things that must be done to build your own company. And of course, how you grow depends on you. I can suggest that you do things, and I can suggest you do certain homework and certain things each week, but there'll be some of you who will do that. And I already know some of the people who will definitely do it. Some of you will do a bit, and some of you won't do much at all. But that really will determine the outcome by the end of November, what you'll have got out of this. I know that if you really put everything you have into this, you'll have more customers, you'll have more team members, and your business will definitely be bigger in 4 or 5 weeks' time than it is today. And that's my goal, to make sure that every single person on this call can say that in 5 weeks' time. So we'll have weekly topics. Also, we'll ask for feedback from you each week so we can help you much better, and perhaps jump on a call if necessary. And we'll also be suggesting certain actions to do, certain things to actually do each week. And so it is quite intense, this one. I think when we roll it out in the new year, we'll probably do it over 6 to 8 weeks, because we'd like to cover all aspects of the business, and things like the marketing plan, things like training new team members, things like that. But there is a commitment required for this to work over 4 weeks, isn't there? To condense things, and that commitment comes from you. You have my commitment, absolute 100%, to help you achieve these different skills that we'll be covering each week. We'll be doing a weekly report, and we'll be following the different chapters of the path to prosperity. There'll be quite a bit of instruction and also experience. So we'll have people who have already built significant businesses sharing their experiences. And we'll also have question and answer sessions as well. Tonight is just an introduction, because you might be thinking at the end of this, and I hope this isn't the case, but you may be thinking, well, it's not right for me right now, perhaps in the new year. And that's absolutely fine. It is important to have, a time commitment. It won't be much time, by the way, but also that commitment that you really are going to make the most of it by doing the weekly actions, and certainly what I call homework, if you like. And so your commitment from next week is to attend every session. And if you have any team members on this course, then your commitment is to support them as well with their actions, keeping in touch with them, helping and supporting them achieve what they want to achieve. And to review, complete and share the material each session, there'll be some questions and answers. And if you can either send them back to myself or to your team leader, if you have a team leader on this call, work with them and share with them the areas that you want to improve with regards to your skill set. So now let's get started with this first introductory session. The first person I want to introduce is someone that I've known for quite a long time. And I did mean to ask you, John, what year it was we met, but I know it was just after you got married and before you had children. So I'm working out that it must be at least, I don't know, 16 years ago or so. And I was looking for someone within the fitness industry to build my Nature Sunshine business. And I happened to bump into John's mum, who was working in a shop I was in. And I said I was looking for someone who was in the fitness industry. She said, oh, you got to see my son. And then John became my personal trainer, and the rest is history. But I know from personal experience of working with John for quite a few years, as I've mentioned, is that when he came into the business, he had a lot of his mindset was very similar to some of you on the call tonight, because some of you have sent your questionnaires back. Thank you very much. And some of the areas that you've mentioned, I know John went through some of those. He had clients. He wasn't sure whether, right at the very beginning, whether supplements was something that he wanted to introduce, because it would mean, charging more for his clients. And step by step, I could see his mindset changing. And so without further ado, John, are you unmuted?
I'm unmuted, yes. Hi, good evening, Terry. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, John. So over to you, John. Can you sort of explain how you know, your mindset changed over the years and what you did, because you went from zero to being one of the top people in the country, hitting nearly 100,000 every month. How do you do that from worrying about selling your first few products, which I remember you did?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you introed it really well, actually, Terry. And I was that person who was very, very skeptical. I was skeptical about supplements. In fact, I think it took you 3 months to persuade me to actually take a supplement. Of which, when I did, when I ran out after 2 weeks, I said, "Give me some more," because that stuff really impacted my energy levels. The product got my attention. I wasn't looking for a business at the start of the whole journey, Terry, as you know, but I ended up with a business with a network of 3,000 people. I was earning on average around £4,000 a month from my business. So yeah, it was an incredible journey, which I thoroughly loved and got a lot from and grew from. So imagine this: you've got someone who's skeptical about supplements, not looking for a business. But do you know what? Bit by bit, my business grew and my mindset grew on the whole journey. And I've just made a few notes. I've got about 10 minutes. Is that right, Terry?
Yeah.
Because there's kind of 7 main. Go on.
I was just going to say, if people want to see your full screen, they can put you on speaker view. So just in case people don't know that.
Only because I'm about 5'5", so they need to make me bigger to see me. But
I think Parage's made you grow, to be honest.
I can't comment on that. Anyway, anyway, 7 main things that I wanted to share, which I feel supercharged my business and me on the journey. So from the skeptical person that started, getting a few of his family members and then a few clients on the products and seeing, wow, these really do work. It's made a huge difference to their health. That got my attention. I wasn't looking for a business, but I started earning a couple of £100 a month, bit by bit. And that was the first few months or even year of my journey, was just on that. But there was some things that really changed for me that changed my mind. 2004 it was when I started my business, Terry, and it was the year I got married, and it was the year I also invested quite heavily in my own self-development. So I went on a course with a guy called Anthony Robbins, some of you may have heard about. I did his Unleash the Power course, and that was very transformative for me and started me on the journey about looking after my mind better and managing that better. And then for me, the next key thing was my goal setting. I then started to set clear, focused goals. I started taking my business seriously. And this happened because I was getting inspired by other people. In fact, here's one of the 7 things. I attended everything. Terry will vouch for this. Mm-hmm. I was there at every meeting. When I got asked to speak, even though I was so nervous, you wouldn't believe it now, for 3 minutes with my notes and my hands shaking, I said yes, and I did it. So I was prepared to get out of my comfort zone and do stuff that I didn't particularly want to do, but I kept saying yes and I kept attending, and I grew so much as a person throughout that. So that was a big shift in my mindset, and now I'm absolutely happy presenting in front of hundreds of people, and that's had a positive impact on all of my businesses, not just my Synergy business. So attending all events, and of course many of those are online now, make that a complete priority. It was something I did, and it will make the world of difference for you too. The other thing I did is I really committed myself, and it took me, again, it might have been a couple of years, Terry, it might have been 3, but I heard from you and other leaders, they just kept saying to me over and over again, if you want to really create a successful business, spend 8 to 10 hours a week on your business. So this is me in the early stages. I mean, later on in my business, it was more 20, 25 hours a week, but to begin with, that was a commitment. So 8 to 10 hours. The game changer for me was when I blocked that out in my diary. And I remember it clearly. I blocked Tuesdays and Thursdays when I had my old paper diary. Those afternoons I blocked out in my diary because I knew I had to create the space for my business. I had to say no to other things. I had to delete things in my current week to make room for Synergy. And that was a complete game changer for me, is the 8 to 10 hours. If you're not already doing that, that's a real must. And then the third thing was I started taking it really seriously when I set clear, focused goals and a clear intention. And I'm going to separate that into 2 things. The clear, focused goals. the moment me and Natasha decided to start our family, well, not the moment, but you know what I mean. There was other things on my mind then. I can't believe I said that now. Sorry. Try and bring a bit of laughter to the evening. I decided that all Natasha wanted to be was a full-time mum, and that was the greatest gift I could have given her, to spend time with our children. So I said, right, I'm taking this business seriously. I'm going to grow this business in 9 months. While she was growing the baby, I was growing the business. And in 9 months, I took it from about £200 or £300 to £900 so that it would cover the mortgage. That way she could be full-time mum. Once I hit that goal, I thought that worked out well. I wanted to then have time with my family. I wanted to be there every dinner time, every bath time, most like 90% of the time. So I said, right, my next goal, serious goal, is I'm going to take this to £2,000, because back then with a small 2-bedroom house, that was enough to cover all our outgoings. So £2,000, and it took me a little while to get there. Don't get me wrong, this didn't happen overnight, but I got to £2,000. And when I got to £2,000, I stopped working weekends, stopped working evenings. I was there with my family as well, which is again a great gift I had, thanks to my business. And then after £2,000, I thought, I'm going to have some fun here. I've got my dream car that I wanted. It was a Mini Countryman Cooper S. And I thought, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to get myself that car when I hit the next rank. And when I hit that particular rank, which I believe was European Director back then, I knew that was about £2,500. I knew that extra £500, that's my car done. Made sure I did it consistently for 2 or 3 months or so. And I knew it was safe. And then I went, right, okay, I'm stepping into that. So it was the clear focused goals that make the world of difference. And it was meaningful goals for me as well. It was about how it's going to create a lifestyle for Natasha and myself. So I'd say that's really key. But the other thing I did was I think it's the 4th thing I'm on now, is that I set a powerful intention one day. I went to an event. There was a few hundred people there, and I looked around, and Terry probably knows what I'm going to say here, but I looked around. There didn't look like there were many people in the fitness industry. I was about 26 back then. I'm 44 now, or 28. Actually, it might have been 28. And I just looked around. I thought, gosh, there's no one like me here. And I saw a great opportunity, and I said, right, I want to share this with the fitness industry, because the trainers need this. The trainers' clients need it. The trainers need it so they don't burn out like I'd done previously, twice. So it's just on this mission to help the trainers and their clients get a better life. And so what I didn't realize when I set that intention was that it was an intention about how I could serve others and help others. And it was something bigger than just something for myself. And for me, that really was a game changer as well, because it was only years down the line I pinched myself when I had a team of 3,000 people in my network, and a good percentage of those, probably 60 towards 70%, were in the fitness industry and had heard about it through my network, because I'd built a team of people who shared it with people, etc., etc. So if you haven't got a powerful intention to serve others with this business, then it's worth doing, looking back from my experience. The other key things I wanted to share was having faith in the process. It will work if you work it. It's absolutely set up to do that. Now, one thing I did is I stuck with it. I stuck with it longer than other people would have stuck with it. There were people that would have given up at certain times of the business where I was at, and I didn't give up. I'm quite stubborn. That's why it took Terry 3 months to persuade me to take a supplement. So I was quite stubborn in making the business work as well. So be stubborn, stick with it long enough. Even when you feel like you don't want to you want to give up, don't. Because it's the people that give up and flitter from one business to another. And I'm not just talking within network marketing, outside of network marketing as well. They never stick with something long enough to create that lasting success. So, you are with the right company. You are within the right type of business to make a fantastic future for yourself with this, if you work it, do the right things. 6th thing I'm on here now is I did work on my mindset a lot. I read books, I invested time on courses, I got myself a vision board set up, because it's all about focus as well. And I focused on my vision board. I focused on constant self-improvement, how I could improve myself. There's Terry will know, there's books I read, there's videos I watch, and there's courses I went on, and Anthony Robbins is just one of them that I mentioned. And all the time I was growing as an individual, as well as what I learned through working as a team in Nature Sunshine, learning from great people and learning what's working for others and taking on board, you know, new ideas, really. So have an open mind. I didn't mean to throw an eighth one in, but that's definitely one of the things. So, and finally, just to give you an idea of how this business can grow, I've sponsored more people now in my Synergy business than I did in my Nature Sunshine business in a third of the time. In my Nature Sunshine business, I think I worked out, sponsored about 30 people directly. I've hit that already with my Synergy business. But what happened is that team grew and grew and grew. And a few of those good 30 people, and I knew a few good people, don't get me wrong, but they knew good people and they knew good people. And it grew to 3,000 people, not because of who I knew, but who they knew and who they knew and who they knew. And, you know, I was pinching myself, but at the same time, this didn't happen by fluke. It happened because I went to work with it. I did a lot of stuff with it. And I can tell a story, but I think I lost track of time, Terry.
Perhaps in one of the weeks, and then 1 to 4, we'll definitely get back to you, John, and because I know you've got some really good stories, and I think your figures are really quite remarkable, because I know in your first 2, 3, even 4 years, you know, doing a few hundred, then a few thousand turnover. But you literally jumped up to 36,000, up to 68,000, up to over 90,000 in quite short periods in comparison. So that's how this business can grow, because sometimes when you get started and you're doing 1,000, 1,500, you think, how on earth am I ever going to get tens of thousands of turnover? But just doing what you've actually said and gone through is how you do it, isn't it?
What you've just reminded me there, Terry, is I was that person at the beginning that looked at those top leaders and people earning good money and full-time incomes from it. And I looked at them and thought, oh, it's all right for those people. I'm nothing like them. It's all right for them. They were the ones sat on the tables, getting all the incentives thrown at them. And, but you know what, step by step, as I climbed the ladder of the different ranks, I got to say, well, I can go a bit further with this. I can go another couple of ranks higher than I'm currently at. And then when I got just over halfway, you know, that's when I felt that I could go all the way, because I'd grown into the person I needed to become to make that happen. So even if you're not that person at the start, just go on the journey, because you'll grow and you can be that person.
Fantastic, thank you. And I know everyone will look forward to hearing some of your really, really good tips that you give your team and everything. So thanks, John, that's great.
Welcome.
So our next speaker then is also someone who I value greatly in the team, and I know that some of you are in her team. I think she's got about 10 of her team on the call tonight, and you'll know by working with Stella how supportive she is, and how, in fact, her team call her Mama Stella, because she's very, very, very supportive. So, and just before I introduce Stella, just so I don't forget, John, you said that, you know, the fitness industry, we needed, you know, a company with fantastic products, needed a business opportunity. Do you think people in the fitness industry need that more or less right now?
More than ever.
Yes.
More than ever.
Yeah, that's certainly true. So, Stella, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm wondering how I can follow that, though. That was fantastic, John.
Well, you can share your screen and let us.
Not working. It's doing it again.
It's
Can
okay.
you put the page up, because it's not working again? I've had this problem all day.
Ah, no, I can't get it up because it's on your screen. Can you just play around with it a little bit?
Yeah. Let me try and do it this way. Sorry about this, guys. It's literally been doing this for the entire day.
There we go. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Brilliant.
There's always a way around it. There's always a way around it, right? Okay, so some of you or all of you will have received the email from Terry, which includes the first chapter of the workbook. And I know that some of you have already filled in some of the questions or all of the questions, and some of you may not have done anything at all, but apart from giving it a cursory read before tonight. So what we just wanted to do was just give you some guidance, just kind of things that you can think about, so that when you go back onto your workbook for this week, chapter 1, that you may well have a better idea of the kind of things that you want to put in there. So if we go straight into chapter 1. Now, throughout the course, as Terry has said, we've got 9 chapters, and we're going to go through a couple of those chapters every week. So there's quite a lot of things to get through, and a lot of that work is actual, what to do, how to do it. But the very first thing that we have to deal with when we're doing this process and going through this process is looking at your mindset, how you are actually thinking about this new journey, or this journey that you're going to take, or perhaps you've been in Synergy for a while, and you're looking to improve on your skill set. So here we're talking about the mindset, and it's talking about how children, if you ask kids in a classroom, who can draw, everybody will put their hand up. But then if you ask adults the same question, people are very tentative, and only perhaps 10%. And if we take that concept out into a wider field, the reason for that is because as children, they don't have any limiting beliefs. When we're small, when you talk about, with kids, and you ask kids, what would you like to be when you're an adult? What would you like to be when you grow up? And if you think about that question, think about what your answer would have been when you were 4 or 5 or 6 years old. And what you find is that as children, they are only limited by their imagination in terms of the answers that they'll give. So, kids will say, I want to be Superman. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be, a gold medal Olympic athlete. I want to be Taylor Swift, whatever it is. There's absolutely no limit in terms of what they think they can achieve. But what happens is, as we go through childhood into adulthood, we're hearing all sorts of feedback from other people. We're going into situations, we have disappointments, and generally speaking, life gets in the way. So we start to be limited in terms of what we feel that we can achieve. So think about, when perhaps one of your own children or a child that says, I want to be a fantastic singer, I want to be the next Whitney Houston or whatever it is. How do you react to that situation? Do you think, absolutely, kiddo, go for it? Or is there a part of your mind saying, well, that's not going to happen? And that's what we do. So it's very, very important that you almost go back to that childlike mentality where you understand that actually anything is possible and everything is possible. All you have to do is make that decision. Now, I work with a lot of athletes, coaches. They're, sprinters, high jumpers, long jumpers, all that kind of thing. And those kids between the ages of 10 to in their 20s really dream big. These are kids who are training 5 and 6 times a week. They're out in all kinds of weathers, hail, rain, snow, you name it, those kids are out there because they know that they have to put the work in. But when you really look at the sessions, of course, most of the sessions are to do with the drills and the techniques, but actually most of the other sessions are all about mindset, because you can be great at technique, you can be a fantastic sprinter or high jumper, but when it comes to competition and you let all those doubts suddenly come into your head, you won't perform to your best. So that's why even athletes and people who are in performance have to go through and train themselves to think in the right way. So going on to the next section here, how do you feel when you start to think about building a Synergy business? You know, does it scare you? Does it excite you? You know, do you think this is something I know I can do, or do you have limitations? Do you have, you know, worries? You know, I only joined Synergy in February of this year. And one of the things, and I was quite open about it, one of the things that I was concerned about was because I wasn't from the nutritional industry. You know, I wasn't a PT, I wasn't a yoga teacher, I didn't know anything about nutrition. But what I learned very fast is I didn't have to be. All I needed to be is somebody who really wanted to build a business. And I could earn whilst I'm learning all of the different skills. And you are in exactly the same position. So it doesn't matter what you've done or achieved before. It doesn't matter if you've tried something before and it hasn't worked out for you. It doesn't matter if this is something completely new to you, if you've never done before. What you have to do is you just have to decide that this is what you want to do. Make the decision, first of all, that you're going to do the business, you're going to learn the business, and most importantly of all, you're going to be successful in the business, regardless of what anybody says, regardless of what happens. And I remember actually going to a lecture from a guy who was incredibly successful in a network many, many years ago. And he was just a young buck, you know, straight out of college. He was working part-time in a fast food store in the States. But he had big ambitions, and he joined a network, you know, signed on the dotted line, registered, and just, you know, flung himself in. But the fact of the matter is that he was just a young guy, didn't have a lot of experience. And, you know, 2 or 3 years in, he was still in a position where he was just earning maybe a few $100s a month. But over time, he got more successful to the point where actually he ended up being the top distributor within that company and the top earner by far. And I remember at the end of his talk, he had a question and answer session. And somebody said, actually, in that first 3 or 4 years, with all, and he'd, you know, he documented, he told us all the things that happened, all the things that went wrong. You know, the person that he wanted to bring in the business said no, all those things that we can relate to. And the person said to him, what was it that made you carry on? What was it that made you be able just to pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and start all over again? And he said quite simply, and he, you know, he had a huge smile on his face, and he said, nobody told me I could quit. Nobody told me I could actually stop. I just thought that, you know, I joined this business, I'd put my signature on a bit of paper, and I just thought, well, I have to keep going. And that's the point. He wasn't limited by the fact that, you know what, I can take the easy option and just stop this. So he carried on. And that's the kind of mentality that we have to have. So perhaps when you're going through this, we have to think about, what is that film that plays in your mind? What are that kind of movie that plays in your mind when you think about this business and all the scary thoughts that come into your mind? And part of that process is actually to think of something that you are good at. Think of something that you do well. And it might even be your job. You might be an amazing teacher. You might be very successful at that. Regardless of what it is, think of something, and it might even be a hobby that you're actually good at. And when you think about doing that thing, what is that playlist in your mind? Do you worry about doing it? Are you scared to do it? Do you feel apprehension in doing? And the answer to all of those questions is no, because you know you can do it, and you know you can do it well. So that's the kind of thing that we need to start thinking about when you're talking about your Synergy business. What is your mental movie going to be like as you're building Synergy? So we go to the next bit. So this is the bit where you're going to start filling in this little questionnaire. And it says here, when you think to yourself, I'm ready to take my Synergy worldwide business to the next level, what thoughts come to mind? Do you feel apprehensive? Do you feel excited? And when you're thinking those thoughts, it's not just about the thoughts, it's about the emotion. How do those thoughts actually make you feel? The next one is, you know, what other people have said to you when you're building a business. You know, are you getting positive feedback? Are you getting negative feedback? And the whole point is that feedback or opinions aren't fact. They're just somebody's opinion. And those opinions are based on their experiences. They're not based on yours. And just because they have experienced those things doesn't mean to say that you're going to experience the same thing. And sometimes people just feel a little bit protective. You know, they want you to be comfortable. They want you to succeed. And they might have a little bit of fear that, you know, you're going to do something and, you know, it may not work for you. Perhaps they've gone out into the world and tried something different and they haven't experienced the kind of success that they've wanted to feel. So, you know, they're putting those thoughts on you. So it's really important to understand that just because somebody else makes a comment doesn't mean to say that it's fact for you. So, you know, we have to learn devices in saying, if somebody says something negative, how do we deal with that thought? And one of my little strategies is to think of a sieve or a colander. Sounds a bit crazy, but you know, the thing is that if you just dismiss a thought, that thought will keep coming back. So what you need to do is say, you know what, that was a comment that was made to me. You know, what part of that comment or anything am I going to take on board? So I just imagine a sieve and I pour that thought or those comments into that sieve, and I let the negative aspects of it come through the bottom. And the good bits I keep in that sieve and that colander. And these are the thoughts, the positive thoughts that have come from that experience that I'm then going to keep and share. And that's what keeps me going. So I filter, and you can learn to filter out all the negative aspects of that. So, and what I will say also about the questions that you're going through, there is absolutely no form of judgment here. We're not looking to sift through your questionnaires and think, well, he's negative and she's positive. It's not about that. It's about understanding where you're starting from. And the fact of the matter is we're all starting from different places. And again, when we're going through these situations and we look at, you know, John and we look at Terry and all the successful people in the business, it's very easy for us to think, maybe they didn't have the challenges that I've got. Maybe they didn't have the negative comments. Maybe everybody they spoke to said yes. Maybe everybody they spoke to said, I'm going to take the products, and that's why they're successful. I can tell you from talking to most people who are very successful in Synergy that they've experienced everything that you have or everything you're about to experience. But they have learned the skills that we are going to teach you over the next 4 weeks in how to manage that mindset as we're going through the process. So we're just going on to that. We're nearly finished. Where are we going? So this is about overcoming fear. And, you know, we all feel fear about what we're doing. And sometimes we even feel fear in the job that we're doing now. So, you know, you hear people saying, you know, I've got a new promotion, you know, and I'm not sure if I can do that. And we now even have a term for it these days. It's called imposter syndrome, right? So even people in traditional businesses suffer from this whole thing. So the fact is that if you feel fear, it's important just to acknowledge that that's how you feel and accept that those feelings are real for you. And this section is about, you know, just putting it out there, and sometimes even writing that fear down, you know, gives you relief from those feelings. So write the fear down. And then what we have to do at this point is say, you know what, that is a fear, but, you know, is it fiction or is it fact? Just because I feel that way doesn't mean to say that it's real or that it's going to happen, or because, you know, for instance, if you think, well, if I build a business, it means that I'm going to spend less time with my family. That's a fear, but that hasn't happened yet. And the whole point is that you are in control of that situation. And just because you're fearing it doesn't mean to say that that's going to happen. So it's really important that you write your fears down. And the whole thing is that when we're looking at these answers, then we will help you in terms of managing those situations and those feelings. Okay, so we're just going on to the next section now.
You've got 2 minutes, Stella.
Okay, this is about coming out of your comfort zone. You know, you see this sort of thing here where the magic is. You see this online a lot, and your comfort. And the fact of the matter is that sometimes we just have to take that first step out of where we're comfortable in order to achieve something extra. And I often think of the word extraordinary. People think somebody who's extraordinary has done something incredible and they're achieving extraordinary things. All it means in its real meaning, all it really means is that they're doing something extra from what they would normally do. And that's what you do when you're building a business and taking steps. And the key to this business is that you're not on your own. You've got people like John, you've got people like Terry, you've got people like me, Angie, and all the other people in the business. Now, they might only be 2 or 3 months ahead of you in terms of their journey, but they have experienced what you're about to experience, and they can therefore help you, support you. And that's the wonderful thing about this particular business model, that you have that help and support all along the way. So I'm just going to the last bit here. Let me just see this bit here, just very, very quickly. So what we want you to do for this week is just work through the questions in the chapter and write them down. Just in it, you know, you don't have to think. Just the best thing to do is just think exactly what you're thinking, put them down on paper, and, you know, send those answers over. Get a notebook, you know, a notebook that you can probably carry around with you. And when you have something, a negative thought that comes into your mind, put it into your book, and think of something that is positive instead. You know, if you think, well, it's going to take up too much time to do this, then, you know, create another sentence that is a much more positive way of looking at it. For instance, doing this business will actually give me more time with my family in the long term. And create a visual reminder. Sometimes we call it a vision board. You know, some people have vision books where we decide what success means to us, and we put all those hopes and dreams into that board. And I have mine on my fridge and on my bathroom mirror. So start to think about what success is going to mean to you. Make sure that, you know, when you get up every day, you have your vision board somewhere that you can see throughout the day. And that will get that vision clearer in your mind, and that will give you your goal set out for where we're going forward. Okay, Terry?
Great, thank you, Stella. So if you don't mind unsharing your screen, that'd be great. Thank you.
Stop share. Okay, thank you.
And that's been a learning curve for you, hasn't it? All the Zooming and the stuff that, you know, we've both learned, haven't we? Quite a few other people on the call as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I run a traditional business, and I thought, how am I going to, you know, keep that business going while I get my synergy income up? And the fact of the matter is, I just made the decision that that's what I was going to do. And when you make the decision, suddenly opportunities present themselves, and you'll find a way forward.
Yeah, and this is your goal board on your fridge.
This is my goal board on my fridge. There's a lot of houses there, but yes, this is my goal. And I look at this every single day. I've got it in books, I've got it on my mirrors, I've got it everywhere. So I'm very, very clear about where I'm going and what my goals and strategies are to get there. And my strategy is very simple. I just build a synergy business, get to presidential level, and I'll be on 50K a month. So that's, I know what to do, and now I'm going through how to do it. And it's exciting, it's very exciting.
So this is what we're asking you to do, to answer those questions and have some kind of reminder every day in your home, in your workplace, which I suppose is going to be your home over the next 4 weeks for most of us, so that just subconsciously as well, it's a focus for you. This is mine. Just very, very quickly, Diamond, that's where I'm heading for, the position of Diamond. That's my old car, my Mercedes SL, which I changed 3 years ago for a 4-seater. I've regretted it ever since, so I want another, you know, a bit materialistic, these are, aren't they? This is to have a global business. I know we have people on the call tonight from Holland, and we often have people from America. This is my children up here, because obviously when you have children, they're always first in line, aren't they, for things that you want to help them with in life. Up here, you perhaps can't, I can't see because, sorry, up here is walking on a beach, a nice sunset somewhere, physically fit. I've now started working out in a different way so that, you know, that I can sort of see the physical improvements. That's something that I'm working on. And here are some of my lovely team that we went out for a celebratory lunch in London because everyone had done so well and contributed and shared and things like that. So get your vision board together because it's something that's very important for us to do. And just as John said, but I'd like to remind everyone on the call, he was talking about the fitness industry, but today, this month, you know, definitely after the latest announcements, you know, there will be people really, really needing and wanting our products, but also people looking for an alternative way to earn extra money, but also an alternative way to live. You know, that lockdowns, you know, the last few months, this new one, more next year, the year after, who knows? So there are many, many people, and we hope that we're going to really, really help you achieve growth in your business, whether it's customers or team members or both. We'll do our very, very best to help you with that starting next week for 4 weeks. So remember, if you haven't got my details, just make a note of it. This is my goal board on here. Didn't mention we're running over, so we promise we won't do that in the following weeks, but that's my goal, my initial goal, 20,000 a month. I hit, just if you don't know, I hit over 16,000 a month with my Nature Sunshine business. So I want to top that with Synergy. So I've got 20,000 all over my home. So every day it's a focus. That's my bathroom cabinet, by the way. That's my office. And so this is what we'd really like you to do because it works. So next week, we're going to be covering chapters 2 and 3. We'd love you to share your vision board or your, you know, the things that you find are helpful to have in your home to remind you. And also we'll be defining your why. It's sort of a new approach that the Path of Prosperity covers. So yes, it's goals, but they have 3 goals. One is M for minimum, T is your target, and O is the real, you know, out of this world kind of goal. So we'll be discussing that next week as well. So thank you for joining us, everyone. I hope I've encouraged you to make that commitment to join us for 4 weeks. Again, if you haven't got all the details, make sure that you've got my email address and you're on the list to get sent all the weeks as we go by. There's my email address, just in case you haven't got it, terryrigby@aol.co.uk. So I'll leave you with a little video. This is my vision board on my laptop. And thank you for joining us. And thank you to John and Stella for sharing their experiences, because we can all learn from each and every one of us. So thank you very much for joining us. See you next week, everyone. It's fantastic, this. I love it. See you all in your sitting rooms. Good night. See you next week.